ثواني نقرأ سورة الفاتحة على شهداء العراق وتضحياتهم في تحريرها من الفتنة. بسم الله. وقبل أن نبدأ المحاضرات نحب نعرفكم على المحاضرين. على يميني الأستاذ الدكتور سامر من قسم اللغة الإنجليزية، متخصص في المسرح، خلص طبعا أنهى دراسة البكالوريوس في 2005 من جامعة بغداد، الماجستير أولا الدكتوراه من بريطانيا من جامعة إكستر 2014. and he's still young. قدامكم تشوفوه full of activity, full of knowledge, better than us because we have become old. هذه والآن هو تدريسي في طبعا تدريسي من زمان في قسم اللغة الإنجليزية. أهلا وسهلا طبعا بالدكتور وطبعا الأستاذ تعرفوا الأستاذ غالب. أنا درست قبل 20 سنة طبعا. غالب خريج البكالوريوس سنة 99 من كلية التربية قسم اللغة الإنجليزية، وخلص الماجستير في أصبح معيد في الكلية نفسها في 2001 لأنه من الأوائل من التوبرز، وفي إلى 2009 من 2001. بعدين 2009 أرسل في بعثة إلى بريطانيا جامعة بيكنغهام مع الماجستير في الادب، وهو أخذ تخصص جديد. هذا الفيلم ستادي اللي راح يتكلم عنه هو تخصص جديد بالحقيقة. والآن هو تدريسي، درس في التربية وجعل في قسم الترجمة، وصار إضافة إلى الكادر التدريسي الموجود. الحقيقة احنا سعيدين بوجوده. الآن نبدأ. أنا حنعطيكم مقدمة بس راح أقرأها بالعربي حتى الكل يعرفها، وإذا تبدون بالإنجليزي up to you، بس نقرأ فيها بالعربي. الفيلم هو ظاهرة اجتماعية، أعتقد كلكم تشاهدون الأفلام، خطيرة جدا، وهي أخطر من الأعمال الأدبية نفسها، لأنه بعض الأحيان تستخدم كدعاية. فعدد مشاهدي الأفلام هم أضعاف قارئي الكتب، وخصوصا في وقتنا الحالي. فالأفلام تستخدم تجاريا للترويج التجاري، وعلى سبيل المثال الأزياء والسلع المنزلية والسيارات والأدوات الشخصية وكلها تسوق من خلال الأفلام، بل وحتى الأسلحة بأنواعها وأشكالها، طبعا indirectly بدون ما نحسها، بس هي يسوون دعاية. فالكثير من الأفلام تظهر منتجا معينا بشكل متكرر كالحاسوب الذي ظهر في عدد كبير من الأفلام. نرحب باسمكم السيد عميد الكلية الدكتور مجيد، السيد المعاون الإداري الدكتور خالد نعيم. شوفوا قدامكم الاحترام السيد العميد. لا عفوا لا شلون مجيد طبعا. شفتوا شلون ويا دكتور كاظم، لان دكتور كاظم مدرس دكتور. انا عميد الكليه. هاي الاخلاق اللي تربينا عليها هي المفروض. على كل شوف القيم الاخلاقيه هاي عظيمه، احنا هاي نريدها، ونريد نجسدها بالفيلم ستدي ان شاء الله، وننتج لنا غالب فيلم. دكتور احنا جاي نسوي مقدمه بس بالعربي حتى بعضهم خاف معنا. فالكثير من الافلام تظهر منتجا معين بشكل متكرر كالحاسوب الذي ظهر في عدد كبير من الافلام وبدا يغزو العالم، بل وحتى اصغر الاشياء كمصباح الاضاءه المحمول باليد او انواع الهواتف النقاله، يعني اضاءه اقصد التورش. ولكن هذا ليس بالشيء الخطير اذا ما قلنا تصدير الثقافه. حقيقه كثير من الافلام اثرت، خاصه افلام الاكشن وهذه مال الكاراتيه والجودو اثرت كثير بجيل من الاجيال. واحنا هذه مو سلوكيات، ويبدو الان جاي تاثر علينا بجوانب اخرى. فلازم ننتبه. لأن احنا عندنا ثقافتنا، عندنا أخلاقنا، عندنا قيمنا، فلازم نلتزم بها. إذا ترى ضاعت هاي ضعنا، ولذلك أعدائنا ممكن يخططون من هذا الجانب. فيقول بتصدير الثقافة نتعب من الأمور الخطيرة جدا على الأجيال الجديدة، حيث أنها تريهم العالم من منظور واحد، ألا وهي وجهة النظر الغربية من ملابس وطرق الحياة والسلوك الغربي. ونلاحظ تأثر المجتمعات العربية والغير عربية بشكل كامل بالأفلام الغربية. ونلاحظ أيضا تصادم بعض الأمور مع ما هو معتاد في الثقافة المحلية، فالمراهقين يقلدون التصرف الغربي بشكل أوسع من الآخرين، بل أحيانا يصبح تقليدهم حرفيا. ثالثا وهو البعد الفكري لبعض الأفلام، والتي تحتوي على شفرات ثقافية خطيرة لا يلاحظها الإنسان غير مطلع بالثقافة والفلسفة. فيوجد مجموعة من الأفلام تحتوي على بنايات تحمل رمز الشيطان، وهو النصب الفرعوني القديم على شكل مسلة ماسونية، أو يحملون اسم زايون، كما لا آمن في فيلم المصفوفة ذا ماتريكس، ويمكن نعتمد شايفين الفيلم أكثر من سلسلة من ماتريكس. أو تحمل شفرات ثقافية عنصرية كالوجه العربي أو المسلم واستخدامه كإرهابي. يعني ملامح يجيبون ممثل يعني آسيوي مبين من أو عربي ويلبسوه اللباس، وهو هذا هو الإرهابي. وأنا شفت أكثر من فيلم بهذا الجانب، فهذه لازم أيضا ننتبه لها. ولكن توجد علاقة وثيقة بين الأفلام وبين موروث الشعوب الأدبي. فهناك نوع من الأفلام يسمى بالادابتيشن، وهو الجنس المرئي للعمل الأدبي المكتوب، والذي أحيانا لا يشبه توقعات القارئ للعمل الأدبي. هناك أكثر من adaptation للعمل الأدبي الواحد، وجميعها غير متشابهة، ولكنها كلها تعتبر انعكاسات لهذا العمل أو انعكاسات فهم صانع الفيلم للعمل الأدبي. دراسة الأفلام هي عالم مستقل له قوانينه ونظرياته تتداخل مع الأدب وعلم الاجتماع وعلم النفس والسياسة والدين تداخلا إيجابيا وسلبيا. فلذلك كان من المهم تسليط الضوء على مثل هذا العالم الذي يبدو بسيطا وممتعا للوهلة الأولى لغرض كشف بعض التعقيدات المهمة. لذلك كان الفصل الثاني من البحث يتناول بالتفصيل نظريات الأفلام، وما راح أذكرها لأن بها الميوزيكال فيلم، الويسترن فيلم، الكريمينال، الكومبات إلى آخره، وطرق السرد للأفلام السردية، بالإضافة إلى شرح وافي لنظريات التكيف للعمل الأدبي في الفيلم كنظرية، ونظرية الايكوفالنسز واللي انتم بالترجمة تحتاجوها. الايكوفالنس انا دائما نتكلم عنها، ترجمة الايكوفالنس مسألة مو سهلة، يعني يحتاج فهم الكالتشر ونظرية الكودز اللي هي الرموز، وقد أصبحت أو الشفرات وقد أصبحت دراسة الأفلام أحد المناهج الإجبارية لنيل شهادة البكالوريوس في اللغة والأدب. الآن في بريطانيا دكتور سامر خريج بريطانيا، أستاذ غالب خريج بريطانيا، يعرفون أنه أصبح حافظين مفردات. وإحنا إن شاء الله من السيد العميد يروح نقترح إحنا كأقسام والسيد العميد على القطاعية يدخل الفيلم السردي ضمن برامج البكالوريوس. شكرا جزيلا للاستماع. الآن نبدأ بالأستاذ غالب حيقدم لنا ندوتنا هذه دراسته عن هذا الموضوع.
يعني أنا شفت الموقف هنا الدكتور مجيد الدكتور طارق، حاب أذكر أن الدكتور مجيد أستاذي مدرسني، وقام إذا ما يتذكر هذا الموقف في مرحلة ثانية كان يجيب لنا مقاطع من جبر الرحلة. فواحد من المقاطع كان يقول في جبر أنه خدع واحدة من الإنجليزيات، كانت سو ريسست ما تأجر الأحد إلا إنجليزي، بس هي أجرت الجبر إبراهيم جبر. فإحنا استغربنا سألنا دكتور ليش أجرت إذا هي ما تأجر إلا الواحد انجليزي؟ قال لانه ادر وجهك تسمع شخص انجليزي ما تسمع جبر واحد جبر. فانا من ذاك الوقت وانا was like challenging myself how to improve my English so that I will be like a native and that will be appreciated. So thank you very much. Now back on our track, film study, and Dr. Samar, I was not expecting that a man that had a huge information about the same field, so I'm going to be short. I'm going to skip some of the slideshow. History, complexity, framing, not manipulation of time. Before starting studying or teaching film study, we need to know something about the component of film in general. Components of film, مكونات الفيلم, like how to translate film. I'm not talking about adaptation, ما جاي نحكي هسه على adaptation. Film study. First of all, there should be a time. And you know time, we have chronological time, psychological time. عندنا وقت زمني ووقت نفسي. So in film study, we need to know the equivalents. Now, psychological time versus chronological time, slow motion is one of the kinds how to improve the, or how to express the psychological time. دائما الحركة البطيئة شو تمثل؟ شو تمثل؟ الوقت النفسي. So we slow motion, reverse, repeating the shots, close up, flash back and flash forward. This is time. Time ellipses or time lapses. Ellipses of time. Sometimes we are moving, editing, moving from one shot, one single shot to another shot with a gap of time. If you have read like the novel To the Lighthouse, Virginia Woolf,
yeah.
Time passes. She just deleted like, or she just like sensitized a 10 years, a decade, within like 20 pages only. بس 20 صفحة 10 سنوات. So ellipses, the time that have been left out of the narrative. How can we do that in film study? Fade, dissolve, wipe, changing the scene, indicate passage of time. Bordwell and Thompson classifications for the time in the movie, they classified it into 3 types: plot time, story time, screen time. And of course the plot time, duration of the events explicitly. And story time is the duration of the implied events. Screen time is the running time, 2 hours maximum. Cinematic concept, forced perspective is an old technique used, like sometimes at that time they don't have, like with the development of film study, they don't have this kind of mise-en-scène, so they were like painting a painting, putting a painting behind the camera to show the city. Or chiaroscuro. You remember that the movies had passed underwent several eras. One of them is like the silent era, then the black and white era, then the colored era nowadays. So during the black and white era and the silent era, they had 2 colors only, white and black, and they were manipulating the 2 colors. Do you want to see something like that? No. Okay. No, I have time. Yeah, manipulating time. Yeah. يشلون يتعبون بالألوان. وقت الأسود والأبيض. And of course, one of the greatest is Citizen Kane, Orson Welles. هسه راح نتمطع هنا راح تشوفون شنو الألوان ليش يتعبون بها وشنو المعاني اللي تخلقها. أكبر واحد بهالش الجنب هو اللي this one. Where is it? You see, this is a footage. You know a footage? Group of shots from Citizen Kane. Now, as you can see, we cannot see the faces of the actors. Why? Because of one reason. They are not so important. They are just playing a minor role and they are narrating. So with the white and black, he just like covered the faces of the unimportant, the minor characters. According to Orson Welles, there is no need to focus upon the minor characters, not nowadays. Thank you. Voyeurism. You know, we tend to voyeur, even at the university, voyeur. The voyeur is a concept like when you are looking at people without their permission or without their knowledge. يعني انت تبعد واحد بدون ما يدري شلون ده بدور الشباب. So in the cinema, all of us are voyeuring. Voyeuring, looking at people, looking unconsciously. This is a Freudian, you know Freud, Sigmund Freud, he invented this term, voyeur. We tend to voyeur, this is inside us. Now, because of the complication of life, we are not allowed to voyeur at people. He will turn his face and tell you what you are looking at me. But in cinema, we have the opportunity to voyeur. And the camera is the voyeur, of course, and the notorious person for voyeurism is Alfred Hitchcock. You know Alfred Hitchcock? He's the greatest filmmaker, one of the inventors and screenwriters of playwright. He was notorious to voyeur, especially in his movie Psycho. Psycho, when he killed the protagonist at the middle of the movie. Whatever. Scopophilia. Scopophilia is another psychological term, which is the pleasure of voyeuring. Now, Sigmund Freud said that as well. He said that we have the pleasure of looking at people. We have the pleasure of watching. This is why we go to the cinema. This is why we watch the film sometimes. By the way, there is a dark side inside us, psychologically. Music. Music is the language. Sometimes in some movies, like The Piano. In The Piano, you don't see much language. Even in the silent era. Now, Charlie Chaplin, you remember Charlie Chaplin? The greatest? He was a British filmmaker, writer, scriptwriter, director, and actor. You don't see much language, only small written sentences, and the rest is the music which plays the language. Music is the silent era, you know, the theme music. The theme music? Now, most of the movies, they have theme music. You know, you remember the film, The Message? Prophet Muhammad. Okay. Let's see if you remember or not.
Sometimes, like, if you feel that there is no need to speak, there is no need to tell the people about if you are adapting a novel, of course, you need to show everything inside the mise en scène. There is no need to tell, like in Shakespeare era, because I'm teaching Elizabethan drama, sometimes Shakespeare, there are like huge, big paragraphs just only to describe the setting. So if the mise en scène is there is no need for the language. At the Shakespearean time, because of the complication of the theater, the nature of the theater, people, even you see a lord sometimes sitting on the theater because he's paying money. So the actors are acting and the lord is sitting there just like a funny person. I don't know why. So in the mise en scène, the director should put everything, all the minor details, because we are dealing with the visualization, not with the verbal words. And like the Plaza stated once, that the writing had buried the language and the culture of the language. Film genre. And of course I'm going to go through very quickly because film genre and what I've done. Sci-fi fiction. You know sci-fi fiction? Now we have sci-fi science fiction films. And horror films. The women's films, the reflexive films, the comic films, the combat films, you are familiar with that. But about the film noir. Noir is a French word, means black. Black? Because after the Second World War, there are like several European directors who like just asked for asylum to America, and they started producing movies with a very shadowy protagonist. You don't see the protagonist as a very good guy. You see a person who is like a person like us, a person with mistakes, sometimes a criminal, and there is another major character, the femme fatale. The femme fatale is the charming, fascinating woman. And by the way, it's right from literature, because it's very connected to literature. If you have studied Oliver Twist, you see Nancy. Nancy was a prostitute, so from the language. But because she modified herself, and of course the story is quoted from the Bible, from the story of Mary Magdalene. You know that? Because she modified herself. Now Dickens like rewards her by burying her a Christian burial. So you can modify yourself. In the film noir, you don't see that like good against evil. You see a normal person with mistakes, and sometimes an evil person against another evil person. The thrillers, you are familiar with the crime film, the musical songs are used to boost the plot. And the Western cowboys, Western civilization against wilderness. Civilization. The whole story is about the Red Indian and stuff like that. Civilization against wilderness. And of course, I'll show you a very short footage about that. The Searchers. First of all, what do you see? A woman coming from the house to the outside. And of course, you can see the outside is like what is that place? No, this is a famous place. Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, because like it's a wilderness. A good sample for a wilderness. A woman coming from the inside, a domestic, a house, a civilization, to the uncivilized place. And there's a person coming from the wilderness. And of course, you know John Wayne. John Wayne. As soon as you hear his name, yeah, Doctor, yeah, John Wayne. The biggest cowboy, yeah? John Wayne is appearing. Yeah, the new generation are not acquainted with the name John Wayne. Even in songs now, they are repeating the name John Wayne. If you want to be a cowboy, you want to be a John Wayne. This is John Wayne. Yeah. Okay, this is John Wayne. You know his face. John Wayne. And at the end of the movie is weird as well. The end of the movie, from the wilderness to the civilization again. He brought this is his nephew, kidnapped by the Indians. Now he brought it back to the civilization. The Kid, by the way, the most famous movie, The Kid, is an adaptation for Oliver Twist. Hitchcock, Psycho, Orson Welles, Citizen Kane. Let me show you something about The Kid. Are you interested or not, really? Yeah. Sure? Promise? Okay. True? Okay, then you will pass. I'm kidding with them, so okay? Yeah, don't take my word for it. And of course The Kid. Just remember, this is 19, okay? 21, maybe. I'm not sure about the time. 1921.
came and they hijacked the car, and they threw the child in the trash. I don't have time. And here comes the man. Who's this person? He will take him, bring him up, and no, I really don't have time. He will bring him up, and the same story like the person, the child will find his family, go back to his family. So the point is, like, look to the black and white, look to the colors, and child shopping. At that time, he can express meaning without language. And of course, language is not everything. You guys have studied linguistics, and you know there are several things like semiotics, pragmatics. We can express language even without speaking. Citizen came landmark, I don't have time. And the editing. Editing is the process of joining shots together. It's not like montage, okay? Editing. We assemble all the shots together. Movie makers are filming shots, then they are editing, and through editing they are suppressing time, space, everything, manipulating time, and the process by which the film footage is assembled is through connecting shots to create sets of meanings. And I'm going to show you what is meant by editing. Now you see Citizen Kane, which is like really a school for film students. Citizen Kane, he just like went through a vast, spans upon a vast era of marriage. The development of his marriage is expressed through editing. راح تشوفون الزواج شلون يتعقد من خلال one conversation but editing shots. يعني هو عدة مشاهد بس هو بعد he's a magician. He was an illusionist for a while. So he is going to tell you with one scene. You see one scene. You don't know this is editing. One scene, he will express the deterioration of the marital relationship. Citizen Kane. The development of the relationship between him and his wife. Listen, from love to a very cold relationship. Remember, he is the director and the actor.
The first couple of months. You're beautiful.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, sure, you're very, very beautiful.
I've never been to 6 parties one night in my whole life. I've never even been up
beginning of the marriage, they are in love, just like the Iraqis.
I think we enjoyed ourselves, didn't we?
I don't see why you have to go straight.
2 days only.
You never should have married a
2 days of
newspaper.
happiness.
They're worse than sailors.
Look, they did the
I
relation.
absolutely adore you.
Oh, Charles, even newspaper men have to sleep.
I'll call Mr. Bernstein
This
and
is all
put
in
up
Wales.
appointments until noon.
Well,
What time is it?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's late.
Look, very short.
It's early.
Charles,
Editing, another shot.
do you know how long you kept me
This
waiting
is-
last night while you went to the newspaper for 10 minutes? What do you do in a newspaper in the middle of the night?
Emily, my dear, your only co-respondent is the Inquirer.
Sometimes I think I prefer a rival of flesh and blood.
Oh, Emily, I don't
Be
spend
married.
much time on the newspaper.
It isn't just the time. It's what you print. Attacking the
No,
president.
You mean Uncle John?
I mean the president of the United States.
He's still Uncle John. He's still a well-meaning
Not to have it like a
bag
serious
of
conversation now.
pressure crooks running his administration. This whole oil scandal.
He happens to be the president, Charles, not you.
Okay, fine.
That's a mistake that will be corrected one of these days.
Your Mr. Bernstein sent Junior the most
Another shot.
incredible atrocity yesterday, Charles. I simply can't have it in the nursery.
Mr. Bernstein is apt to pay a visit to the nursery now and then.
Does he have to?
Yes.
Really, Charles? People will think.
What I tell them to think.
Starting to be arrogant, huh? At the end, they don't talk. The last thing, they don't talk. Huh? Each one is reading a newspaper. So there is the deterioration of the marriage relationship without saying anything, just like a conversation with
he ever in
editing.
love with her? He married for love. Love.
So editing. Montage. We are talking about montage. There are like, give me a few moments.
Yeah.
So we have different kinds of montage. Montage is a synonym for editing. I'm going to put the shots together. But we are talking about the Soviet montage. Soviet montage is the connection of two different shots to create another meaning. يعني أقارن لك صورة شخص ورغيف خبز، فأنت راح يروح بالك أنه جوعان. شخص مبتسم وبنية منك، هذا لاستي. شخص يباع للأطفال ما عنده أطفال. فصورتين هي كل شيء phenomenon. بعدين editing if someone is talking about something, then another picture. Connecting two shots which are really different. Like in Passage to India, a woman is talking that we cannot talk with the locals. They are like savages, or she said, she used another word. And immediately the shots will go to the deep culture of the erotic temples. You see how the Indians with their deep culture and the women, the silly English women who is talking that they are not civilized. Narrative and system. Of course, unlike if you have read the dictionary of narratology, you see that we have several ways of narrating the story, and we have the point of view, like the first person narrative, second person narrative, third person narrative, omniscient, non-omniscient. But in film study, we have the equivalent. الشيء المقابل للرواية. مثلا the mise en scène، المشهد هو يروي لك كل شيء. Cinematography, the cameraman. Editing, sound, as I said, that's what, voiceover. يحكون montage, colors, the camera is the eye, and the voiceover. The voiceover احنا نستعير عنها في first person narrative. من واحد يحكي حياته الشخصية. شلون فيلم Alexander, there is one of his friends was the narrator, and you don't see him until the end. So this is a voiceover. Whatever. Semiotics. And again, linguistics, guys. You see that before the movie, we have the written text, and we don't see much of the semiotics, the sign systems. But with films, actually the development of linguistics boosted the development of what? Film study. I'm not going through psychoanalysis, God almighty. I don't have time. So we are talking about adaptation now. Because if they want to convey a message for you guys, the filmmakers, they use your legacy. حتى العرب. If they want like to convey a message, they use Aladdin or Sinbad or the Arabian Nights or our heritage to send us a code, a message. So manipulating the legacy, تعامل بعد الموروث الثقافي. ما جاي نحكي على البست سيلينج، جاي نحكي على canonical writing. You know canonical writing within the British canon or within the Arab canon.
okay, كتابات شعرية, they manipulate it. And we call that kind of study is the adaptation. The adaptation is the visualization of the canonical writing. So, and of course, it passes through several stages, and the pioneers is Philip Ladza, who was like a playwright, and Sergei Einstein, the Russian, who invented the montage theory, and André Bazin, who threw Sergei Einstein to the past. This theory, I mean, he invented the new theory, the long, short mise-en-scène. And George Bluestone, whose book became the blueprint, the blueprint of the film study from novel to film. And of course, all of them, they have seminal books. And we use the word seminal. Seminal means كتاب ما تألف قبله, بس من تألف وراء like hundreds of books. Just like Orientalism for Edward Said. Orientalism of Edward Said is a book that none of the, some of them wrote something before, but after Orientalism, several books were written, including Clash of Civilization and Culture and Imperialism, blah, blah, blah. So, and Edward Said, by the way, Edward Said, most of his quotation was like from films, not from books. He quoted from Joseph Conrad, several, quotations, but most of them like from films. Problems of auteur. Now auteur, because the dean is here. The auteur, film is an industry. هي صناعة. So it is hard if you are a director, you need to bring someone who is very good in photography and editing and blah, 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 and how to control the good number of workers. It's just like the dean or the vice dean, because it's not their major to control the people. So it needs someone with talent to control every single aspect of the movie. Just like at the university, the dean has to deal with the cleaners, with the workers, with the clerks, with the employees, with the lecturers from different fields. So auteur, the person who is very skillful in controlling every aspect of the film, is called not a director, auteur. Adaptation passes through 4 stages, 4 kinds. The adaptation of canonical writings, adaptation of plays. It's very easy because like the play is already written to be acted. المسرحية أبسط شيء يسوي adaptation. ليش؟ هي تألفت على مود تمثل. The adaptation of short story is complicated. And it's not so complicated because the author or the auteur or the director needs to add more details, like the Curious Case of Benjamin Button, a short story written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it became a movie. The most suitable form of the novel, and complicated as well, is the novel. أكثر شيء novel راح يشرحها الجميع إن شاء الله. Different of the kinds of adaptation theories, and this is the last. I'm not going to continue because I don't have the time. Different theories of adaptations. عندنا عدة نظرات جماعة الترجمة. Please, the fidelity theory. And even some of your lecturers are asking you, this is not good. Your translation is not good because you went so far afield. أنت ابتعدت عن الموضوع الأساسي. صح ولا لا؟ طالب تروح تقول له ترجم نص يضيف شغلات من عنده. So fidelity, الخيانة, soul or letter. You mean, it is complicated as well because if you want to be loyal to the text, إذا تصير مخلص للtext, you need, let's say this proverb, forever and a day to make a movie. 30 hours movie. You can't be loyal to the letters. ما تقدر كل التفاصيل تدخلها من الموفي. Loyal to the spirit, loyalty to the spirit, to the soul of the work. Who can determine the soul of the work? Like, I have different understanding of the text, you have different understanding of the text according to our cultural background. And of course, the people who are older than us, they have more experience, more knowledge about the books and reading and stuff like that. So the adapter should be acquainted with literature. And the theory of the equivalence now, the translation, the equivalence. It is complicated really. Sometimes the lights is the equivalent, sometimes the voiceover, sometimes. So as a director, you need to find the equivalent for the written form. Personification, simile, metaphors. How can you personify, how can you find the equivalence for this? يعني التشبيه المجازي انت شو راح تمثله؟ الpersonification, التشخيص شلون راح تمثله؟ You need to invent your equivalent. And finally, the most complicated form is a combination of various methods translating the social, cultural, and political codes, especially by the codes, as Dr. Ali mentioned at the beginning, that codes are very important. You have seen when he mentioned Zion, film المصفوفة, Matrix.
السيف زون هو الزعيون شنو هاي والعرب فرحانين. الحركات مال الشباب هذول يو برو codes of culture. Sorry, that's enough. That's enough. Thanks a lot. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
The lecture of Dr. Sana. If you have any comment, any question, give it for him.
You want the environment as well?
Huge category, and we have adaptations from poetry into novel, from drama into novel, from novel into drama, and with the coming of the new media of the 20th century, with the movie, of course, the movie has occupied the theory of adaptation and the practice of adaptation. That's why, of course, we always talk about movie adaptations or film adaptations. In the last decades, with the invention of new media, new technologies, we have some new forms of adaptation like video games, computer games, and so on. And we see that the same story is being recycled from one form to another. For example, all of us know Lord of the Rings. It started as a novel, then it turned into a film, and then it turned into a video game. And many, this path, of course, is continuous. We don't know what technologies are going to be invented and what new forms of adaptations are to be launched in the future. Well, my concern here is not about the idea of adaptation in general, but rather of the use of adaptation in teaching literature. This is my field. This is not a new idea. Already there have been many books talking about, for example, using film adaptation to teach literary theory, books about using adaptations to teach Shakespeare, books recently published about the pedagogy of adaptation, and so on. So the idea is not new, but the experiment or the experience of using adaptations in this environment is new and has many challenges, not the least of which is the availability of the facilities of the audio and visual methods that would enable teachers to teach adaptations. There are many reasons why we should be using adaptations in our teaching of literature. The first one, which I am concerned with, is to teach their students mainly the plot, because as a teacher of literature, I've been spending a lot of my time, much of my time, in teaching the plot, and then a small room is left to interpretations, to analysis, and so on. So I think when a student watches a movie or a theatrical production of play or a novel and so on, he or she will get a very clear idea of what the whole thing is about, and so the role of the teacher would be to add interpretations, to give analyses, and so on. So this is one thing that really is going to solve us great problems regarding the limitations of our space and time in college. The other thing, why adaptation is useful for the teaching of literature, that adaptation will shed light on many aspects of the text. We come to know the text better, I think, when we watch adaptations. And one thing that my colleague has mentioned about fidelity, I was talking about that with some of my colleagues at the Department of English, and their concern was mainly that film adaptations are not loyal to the original. So in the film there are changes brought about to the novel or to the play in question, and so this will deviate the sense of the plot for the student. I think this shouldn't be an obstacle, rather should be a motivation to do that, because even when the film or the theatrical performance differs from the original, it differs with creativity. It is adding something, and we could learn things not by knowing what they are, but also by knowing what they are not. So the film adaptation adds many areas that are not available in the text, or if they are available, are latent to us, and so after watching the adaptation, we go back to the text and we find out that we will come to understand the text better than we did. There are some very short clips about two plays that are always taught at the Department of Translation and the Department of English. For William Shakespeare, there are Macbeth and Hamlet. Which play is called? No. So not Hamlet.
I thought Hamlet.
Okay, so I'm supposing a level of familiarity with the stories of Hamlet and Macbeth with these. One thing, for example, about Macbeth, we have the role of the supernatural in Macbeth, and this is something that we teach to our students. And the supernatural is mainly represented by the role of the witches. Directors have found out many ways in order to look for the witches, and these ways are very informative, and they tell us things about the witches that we did not used to know about them. So if we just look into one clip about this. This is from a series that is produced by the BBC, and it is called Shakespeare Retold. It is taking, I think, 5 plays, and they are molding them in modern settings, in modern British settings. So the same stories, but they are recycled in modern settings. One of them, we know that the witches are women. The story of Shakespeare is presenting them as women, mainly. And this has created lots of critical controversy about why witches should be women. And they're ambivalent because Macbeth tells them, or is confused about their identity, because he says to them that you are women, you look like women, but you have beards. So we have some
Charles, Mum. Had my earning capital. Beautiful. What about you, Buzz? Can't be. And then, what they call it? What? Gherkins? No, I've seen them. Something. Asparagus. Anchovies. Anchovies? Corned beef and anchovy. Very classic. The restaurant slop. When the early days done. From the last mouthful, it's the bottom of the belly of the last diner. In we go, scooping up the debris. Bones and guts. Fish heads. Not into the black pudding. Skins of habbises. Haggai. You know what? Hacker's claw. We'll be there.
Well, so what a brilliant idea, a very creative idea to change the sex of the witches or gender of the witches from females to males. And this also raises questions, of course, why should we not look at them as males? Why we should only look at the female as being this source of evil and so on. And of course, the politics of gender in Macbeth is very complicated. If we combine the role of the witches with the role of Lady Macbeth, of course, the idea of the feminine that Shakespeare is presenting in Macbeth is a very dangerous and risky idea. So with changing the sex of the witches from females to males, and the director is also changing the way we should look into things. Well, another important shot is
You know my name? We know every single bit, man. Nothing we don't know.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what yous are. 3 of them, Joe. 3 Michelin stars coming your way.
And that's not all. Oh no.
The restaurant?
All caboodle.
It's gonna be yours, Joe. Oh yeah. What about me?
Less happy than him. And yet more happy.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Joe gets everything and you don't. But your son does. And his son.
And his son.
And his son.
And his son. And his son. And his son.
Well, so this is a completely different view from the way Shakespeare presents it. It was in a heath, it's not in a modern setting. And if you notice, the setting is characteristically British. The accent is British, sometimes it's very difficult to understand. And also their references, their allusions. For example, when the one of the male witches is telling twinkle star, oh, I wonder what you are, and so.
And very difficult matter to do throughout translation. And I only want to have an explanation concerning this matter. As far as fields of translation are sitting here.
To answer. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for this wonderful question. Really, it's like culture and film study and adaptation is connected, and the translation as well. Because, you know, after all, the film study or the adaptation is the visualization, visual translation for the text. And actually, I think that, yeah, you are right. I think that if the translator is acquainted with films, familiar with films, he can get like more information about the translation itself. Like if he will be acquainted with the culture, because films present you culture or cultural, you know, information. So within the cultural information, you can get more information than the book. This is why our students who are watching movies, they can translate better, I think. I'm not sure. So,
well, I think that translation. I
the movie. I will just comment on some important events in the novel. Thank you.
Okay. So you're welcome, my brother. But I mentioned that quickly. I want to do it quickly. I said that with a short story, you need to add more information. But with the novel, the adapter or the movie maker needs to draw. After the Second World War, a huge number of orphans working everywhere. So in order to give them a motive to live, to develop their lives, he adapted it.
Well, another technique that directors or adapters are using with novels is that they're dropping the description. Novels contain mainly of, consisting mainly of descriptions, and of course the scenery of the film is adequate, so it doesn't need to add any description. That's why they are making films into novels easily.
ما قالوا بدون